Hello, I'm going to introduce you to soil science today. My name is Sylvester Odundo, a trainer at Friends College Kaimosi. My email address is odundosylvester54@gmail.com and my number is 0706248870. Going first to define what soil is, and we can say that depending on the profession and perception of the person defining the soil, some of the concepts that have affected the definition of the soil in the past include soil as a thin mantle over the land surface, soil as a medium for plant growth, soil as a basic matter of the universe, soil as a mantle of loose and withered rock, soil as an organized natural body. In the profession of agriculture, we can define soil as the unconsolidated mineral material on the immediate surface of the earth that serves as a natural medium for growth of land, plants. We want to look at the soil constituents, and we understand that soil is made up of different parts, and one is organic matter. Depending on a particular soil where it is situated, you may find that the organic matter may vary. So the percentage that you're giving of 5% is that of a soil in an ideal condition. 2, with mineral particles, this takes 45% of the total constituents of the soil. 3, we have air and water. 4. Now, air and water takes 50% of the percentage of the total soil constituents. Depending on a particular soil and where it is located, if a soil is in a waterlogged area, then you expect that the percentage of water in that particular soil is going to be high compared to a soil that may be found in an area like a desert where there is no water, and in that regard, the percent air is going to be high compared to the water in the soil. So that you're seeing is a diagram that gives you more illustration about what you've just said. 45% mineral that comprises of clay, sand, or silt particles. 5% organic material made up of living and dead plants and animals. 25% water and 25% air. Next, we also want to talk about how this soil is formed. A very important subject, soil formation. Now, one is from decaying organic matter. When organic matter decomposes, at the end of the day, you end up having humus, and that which results into you having soil. The next element is withered parent rock material, and under this there are 3 major types of rocks. The igneous, which is from molten lava, and this is actually as a result of eruption that occurs that when the magma solidifies, once it has emerged on the earth's surface, then it forms rocks. Examples are quartz and mica. We have sedimentary. These are resulting from the weathered material of igneous rock. They are transported and deposited at a particular place. Now, due to compression by the weight of the overlying layer, you come up with this particular type of rock. Examples with gypsum and limestone. Metamorphic, just from the name as it suggests, it is change. Metamorphosis means change. So it is actually types of rocks that form from the existing sedimentary or igneous rocks, and because of changes in terms of temperature and pressure, you end up having this kind of rocks. Examples, you have marble and schist. Now, I'm showing next a diagram that gives a good definition of how formation of soil occurs. Now, we have a rock here. So this rock is the one that disintegrates. Then at the end of the day, you are able to get soil accumulating. So when it accumulates after a while, over time, it can be transported and deposited. Now, when it is deposited at this point here, then you can be able to get what we refer as sedimentary rock. So in summary, we can say soil is formed through weathering process, which involves the breakdown of rocks into small particles or fragments. What are the forms of weathering? Now, we have different forms of weathering, and one is the mechanical or physical, where pressure is exerted or the physical force is exerted on the rocks by various agents resulting to breakdown of rocks. We also have chemical, where reactions occur on the soil depending on the substances that is accelerating that, or a catalyst to that effect, and as a result you find that the rock chemical composition and the structure is made unstable and therefore becomes easy to disintegrate. And under this we have different processes of chemical weathering. One, we have hydration. Now when we're talking about hydration, we're just talking about water, the rock reacting with H2O, and therefore you make it the stability of the rock is hampered and therefore becomes easy to disintegrate. We have oxidation. This is the addition of the oxygen molecule upon the rock, and as a result, an example is iron. When iron 2 reacts with oxygen, then you get iron-free oxide, and as a result you find that the chemical composition of that rock it changes and therefore becomes easy to disintegrate. Hydrolysis, solution, carbonation, we are talking about a rock undergoing disintegration process as a result of, let's say, the carbon that reacts with water to form carbonic acid. The carbonic acid, because of its corrosive nature, it acts upon the rock and ends up causing it to disintegrate. Now, another form of weathering is the biological. Now here we are talking about the living things affecting the decomposition of rocks. We are talking about the fauna. We are talking about the flora. Now in this case, you find that moles or rats may find or burrow holes inside the rocks, and in the process you find the rocks becomes unstable and break down. This process takes time, so it is not just a one-day process. Next, we want to also outline the factors that may end up affecting the soil formation. Now, our subject here of discussion is soil. What are the factors that affect the soil formation? So, one is the parental rock. It determines the color, the chemical properties, and the mineral content, and also the permeability of a particular soil. You cannot compare igneous with metamorphic. Just because igneous is from the original magma after it has solidified, then you expect that that particular rock is going to be very hard and highly impermeable compared to metamorphic, which as a result of the changes that has occurred in terms of temperature and pressure, it has formed this kind of metamorphic rocks. So therefore the permeability of these rocks is very high. Then another factor, very important, is relief. Now when you're talking about relief, you're talking about the altitude and the slope. This determines accumulation of soil at the end of the day. Another factor, which is very, very important, is the flora, fauna, and microorganisms. Now we are talking about the microorganisms that may end up affecting the rocks in terms of their chemical nature. Remember, these animals reaches a point when they die. When they die, they have chemicals in them. So when that chemical happens to enter into a rock, then you find that there is some reaction that takes place. We also have another aspect of time. Depending on the time that it has taken for a particular rock to form soil, it would end up determining the thickness of the soil profile. We shall be looking at the soil profile in a while. The next aspect that I want us to talk about, which is a factor that affects soil formation, is the climate. Now, when we are talking about climate, we are talking about temperature, we are talking about rainfall, we are talking about humidity. In general, it influences rate of withering and humus. So let's look at the soil profile. Now, what is soil profile? Somebody may ask. Now, there's a diagram that shows what soil profile is. It is, we can actually define it as the vertical cross-section of the earth's crust, which exposes a succession of different layers of the soil, also known as horizons. Now, remember that these layers have differences in terms of their content and their properties, such as color, texture, and structure. Like, for instance, the O horizon, that means the organic matter region, you expect that it will have high amounts of organic matter. The top soil, or horizon A, or zone A, is actually an horizon of alluviation. Now, this is actually where quite a number of nutrients are found. It's actually the plow layer. So because of precipitation, you may end up finding that clay particles, because of their tiny their tiny particles in the soil, they may end up being leached, or even nutrients. So that's why we refer to this as an horizon of alluviation. Now, in subsoil, or zone B, or horizon B, this is actually the horizon that receives or takes in the nutrients and the clay that has been leached from horizon A. Then we have also the withered rocks on C, and the parental rocks on D. Under soil profile, we can summarily say that soils exhibit a range of master and diagnostic horizons. Diagnostic horizons actually give more information about a particular horizon depending on where it is and the climatological conditions in that particular area. Good. So what are the effects? Now, what are the effects of soil profile on crop production? This is a very important subject, and we can say that topsoil is very important for development because it is rich in nutrients with which plants use. It is actually the main supplier of water to the plants, because actually it is in this point where the roots obtain their nutrients from the soil, and that's why we refer this as a very important part of the soil profile. Then we have the upper horizon, or the plow layer. This is the cultivated zone that can be manipulated and managed according to the farming needs. It allows the use of fertilizer and drainage activities through proper tillage and addition of organic matter. So it can also be modified by either raising or lowering its fertility, hence productivity. Then we also have another horizon. We refer it as subsoil. Now, subsoil is influenced by the root penetration into the subsoil by the amount of moisture and nutrients held in the soil. Now, it is actually on this point when I need to say that this hard pan that forms if with continuous cultivation, that after a while this plate of hard pan needs to be broken so that it can be able to allow root penetration. Then lastly, we may also be able to talk about parent rock. Now, the parent rock, or the regolith, is the source of the minerals. The minerals that you can be able to get at the end of the day in a particular soil is actually obtained from the parent rock. Let's talk about the branches, the different branches of soil science. Now, we have two main branches of soil science. One is pedology, from the word pedon, and it deals with soil formation. It also talks about soil genesis, how the soil came out of, what was the origin of the soil. It also talks about the soil classification and description. Then another branch is the edaphology. Now, when we're talking about edaphology, we are talking about study of soil in relation to growth, nutrition, and yield of crops. Now, what are the different disciplines of soil science? Now, it is very important for you to note that soil science has quite a number of disciplines, but three major ones that we'll be discussing in our study in soil science. One is soil physics, which involves the study of physical properties of soil. We are talking about the soil texture, we are talking about bulk density, we are talking about soil temperature, we are talking about hydraulic conductivity of the soil, we are talking about soil porosity, and every other aspect of the physical that can determine the physical nature of the soil. Then we'll be also talking about the soil chemistry, which involves the study of chemical constituents, the chemical properties, and the chemical reactions. So what are the nutrients that are found in a particular soil in terms of phosphorus, in terms of potassium, in terms of total nitrogen, in terms of organic carbon, in terms of magnesium base saturation, cation exchange capacity? All these are going to be dealt under soil chemistry. Lastly, we have soil biology that deals with soil ecology. We are talking about microorganisms that may end up affecting the nature of the soil in terms of the nutrients. Now, in this case, we also want to talk about how the soil is colonized by microbial organisms such as rhizobial species, such as mycorrhiza, classification and its role in transformation or in transforming a particular soil. With that, I want to stop there. We shall meet again when we'll be discussing in detail about soil physical properties. This is a big thank you for being my audience today. Remember to subscribe. Thank you. See you. Bye.